Ladies and gentlemen, excuses are the language of fear. They are the lullabies of the enemy, singing you to sleep while your destiny slips through your fingers. The cross wasn't built for the perfect. It was built for people like you and me. Grace doesn't excuse sin, but it erases its power. Excuses are chains, my friend. They are the bars of the prison you've built with your own words. And the enemy smiles every time you say, maybe later. God is not looking for the most qualified. He's looking for the most willing. He's not asking you to be perfect. He's asking you to say yes. So I say to you, rise up, step out, shake off the dust, silence the voice of fear. Burn the list of reasons you've given for why you can't, and trade them for one reason why you must. Excuses are not harmless thoughts. They are powerful chains. Invisible, yes, but binding just the same. Every time you say, I can't, you're not just stating a fact. You're locking a door. Every time you whisper, I'm not ready, you're putting off the very thing that was designed to set you free. Excuses dress themselves up as reasons, but make no mistake, they're lies. You were never meant to be bound. You were made to move, to rise, to walk in purpose. But excuses, oh, they're clever. They don't show up shouting. No, they show up softly, like a friend trying to protect you from failure, from embarrassment, from discomfort. But what they're really protecting you from is growth. The longer you listen to them, the stronger they grip your mind. And one day you stop trying, you stop dreaming, you stop believing. That's the silent death of destiny, all because of excuses. But the truth, the real truth is this: you are not chained by your past, your pain, or your weakness. You are chained by the things you keep telling yourself to avoid obedience. You were not here by accident. You were formed with care, crafted with intention, and placed on this earth for a purpose bigger than your comfort. Before you ever took your first breath, the one who made you also equipped you. He didn't send you into this world empty-handed. He placed within you everything you would need to fulfill the calling on your life. But we forget that. We look at others, their talents, their confidence, their resources, and we say, I wish I had what they have. All the while we ignore what's already in our hands. You see, the question isn't whether you're equipped. The question is whether you recognize what you've been given. Moses had a staff, David had a sling, the widow had a little oil, and you have something too. But excuses will always tell you that what you have isn't enough, that you're missing something, that you need to wait until you're stronger, smarter, richer, more qualified. But that's not how God works. He doesn't call the prepared, he prepares the called. He's not waiting for you to be perfect. He's waiting for you to say yes, and the moment you do, his power meets your obedience. That's when miracles happen. That's when fear loses its grip. And that's when excuses fall flat, because suddenly you're not depending on your own ability. You're walking in the strength of the one who never fails. So stop looking for another sign. Stop waiting to feel ready. The tools are already in your hand. The power is already in your spirit. You are already equipped. Now it's time to move. Fear has a way of dressing itself up in the robes of wisdom. It speaks in a calm, reasonable voice. It tells you, be careful. It whispers, now's not the time. It pretends to protect you, to help you avoid mistakes, to keep you from looking foolish. But the truth is, fear isn't wisdom, it's a thief. It robs you of courage. It robs you of opportunity. And worst of all, it robs you of obedience. We convince ourselves that we're just being smart, just being cautious. But deep down we know it's not discernment, it's hesitation. It's that old familiar resistance that rises up when the step ahead looks too risky, when the outcome isn't guaranteed. And so we freeze, we delay, we plan and plan and plan, but we never act. Listen, wisdom may wait when God says, wait. But fear delays even when God says, go. How many times have you felt that nudge in your heart, that clear pull to step out, speak up, or start something, but then you paused, talked yourself out of it, and called it being careful? That's not wisdom. That's fear wearing a mask. Faith doesn't ignore reality, but it refuses to be ruled by it. Faith sees the giants and still moves forward. Faith sees the storm and still steps out of the boat. Faith hears the fear but doesn't obey it. So the next time fear tries to dress up as wisdom, ask yourself, is this truly from God? Or am I just afraid to fail? Because if he called you, he will carry you. If he stirred it in your spirit, he intends to fulfill it. We live with this illusion that there will always be more time, that we can wait until tomorrow, until next week, until things settle down, until we feel more ready. But the truth is, time is not promised. Life is a vapor. Here one moment, gone the next. And every time we say, I'll do it later, we gamble with a gift we may not have tomorrow. The greatest tragedy isn't missed opportunity, it's delayed obedience. Because when God calls, he calls for now. Not for when it's convenient, not for when all your questions are answered, not for when the path is clear and the conditions are perfect. He says, come, go, speak, move. And he says it in the present tense. Excuses love the word later, but later has ruined more dreams than failure ever could. Later has left prayers unanswered, visions unfulfilled, and lives unchanged. Why? Because later often turns into never. There's a weight to now, a holy urgency, not pressure, not panic, but purpose. There is a door open today that may not be open tomorrow. There is someone who needs your voice now. There's a purpose tied to this moment that can't be postponed. Look at the stories throughout Scripture. When the waters parted, they had to walk through right then. When the invitation was given, they had to follow. Delaying would have meant missing the miracle. So if your heart is stirring, if you feel that fire inside, don't wait for perfect conditions. They rarely come. Don't wait until you feel fearless. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's moving forward in spite of it. Now is sacred. Now is powerful. Now is the time. Stop waiting. Stop hesitating. Stop excusing. Step into this moment with boldness, because eternity moves through moments like this. You were never meant to walk this journey alone. That weight you're carrying, that fear you're wrestling, that mountain you're facing, you were not created to bear it by yourself. But excuses will isolate you. They'll tell you, no one understands. You have to figure this out on your own. If you were stronger, you wouldn't need help. Lies. all of them. The truth is, you were designed for connection, for community, for divine partnership, and most of all, for the presence of the one who promised, I will never leave you nor forsake you. You are not abandoned. You are not forgotten. You are not walking in your own strength, not unless you choose to. God never called you to climb every hill alone, to fight every battle by your own power. When you said yes to the call, he said yes to going with you. His Spirit is not distant. It's not silent. It's not waiting for you to get it all together. It's right here, right now, closer than your breath, stronger than your fear, more faithful than your doubts. Even when others walk away, he stays. Even when you stumble, he steadies. Even when your own voice is filled with excuses, his voice speaks truth. And he reminds you that you are not doing this alone. There are also people he's placed in your path, mentors, friends, encouragers, not by accident, but by assignment. But if you isolate yourself in shame or pride, you'll miss the very help he sent. Don't let the excuse of self-sufficiency rob you of the strength that comes from others. You're not supposed to carry the load alone. You're part of a body. You're part of a mission. You're part of a kingdom. And heaven always backs the... So when fear says you're on your own, you answer with truth. I am never alone. And with that, you step forward, not in your own power, but with the full force of grace, walking beside you. When we make excuses, we don't just limit ourselves, we insult the one who made us. Every time we say, I can't, what we're really saying is, God can't. We may not say it out loud, but in our hearts, we're doubting his power, his plan, his ability to work through us. Think about that. The same God who spoke the stars into existence, the same God who raised the dead, calmed the storm, and fed thousands with a handful of bread, that same God says, I want to use you, and our response is, I'm not enough. When we make excuses, we're telling God that his grace isn't sufficient, that his promises aren't reliable, that his call was somehow a mistake. But let me tell you, God does not make mistakes. He didn't get it wrong when he called your name. He didn't miscalculate your ability. He didn't overlook your flaws. He factored them in and still said, yes, I can use you. Excuses shrink God down to the size of our insecurities. They put a limit on a limitless God. And that's not humility, that's unbelief. True humility says, I may not have what it takes, but I know the one who does. Look through Scripture and you'll see a pattern. God never picked the most polished, the most prepared, or the most powerful. He chose the willing. And when they tried to protest, like Moses did, like Jeremiah did, like Gideon did, he didn't say, you're right, you're not good enough. He said, I will be with you. That's all you need. His presence is your qualification. His power is your permission. His calling is your confidence. So stop dishonoring God with your excuses. Stop saying, I can't, when the creator of the universe is standing behind you saying, with me, you can. Stop measuring yourself against the task and start measuring the task against your God. If you look at history, real soul-shaking, world-changing history, you won't find it built by people who waited until everything made sense. You'll find it written by people who moved. People who obeyed even when they were afraid. People who said yes even when they didn't have all the answers. People who stopped making excuses and started walking in faith. Greatness doesn't start with perfection. It starts with obedience. The kind of obedience that steps out when logic says to stay back. The kind of obedience that doesn't wait for applause or clarity, but moves because the call is too strong to ignore. Think of every major turning point in Scripture. Abraham left his home without knowing where he was going. Noah built a massive boat with no rain in sight. Esther walked into the king's court risking her life. Peter stepped out of the boat onto water. They didn't wait for confirmation from the world. They moved because they trusted the voice of God. If they had made excuses, we wouldn't be reading their stories. But because they moved, history moved with them. You see, the enemy doesn't have to destroy you to stop you. All he has to do is convince you to hesitate, to question, to delay. Because hesitation kills momentum, and momentum matters. What you put off today might be the very thing someone else is praying for right now. You were never called to live a life of almost obeying, almost stepping out, almost believing. You were called to go. You were called to act. You were called to bring heaven to earth in whatever way he's placed inside you. Through your voice, your gifts, your story, your service. History isn't made by those who have the most talent or the cleanest record. It's made by those who say yes. So don't spend your life explaining why you didn't. Let your life be the evidence of what happens when someone dares to believe and moves with heaven. We live in a world that worships comfort. We chase ease, we avoid pain, we insulate ourselves from anything that stretches us. But the truth is, you will never grow in the place where you refuse to be uncomfortable. Growth and comfort cannot live in the same room. One will always push the other out. Excuses thrive in comfort zones. They sound like, this is good enough. At least I'm not where I used to be. Why risk it? But God didn't call you to settle. He didn't save you, shape you, and send you here just to survive. He called you to rise, to build, to move, to lead, to change lives. And none of that happens when you stay where it's easy. Look at the process of growth. Muscles don't get stronger without resistance. Seeds don't break through the soil without pressure. Gold doesn't get refined without fire. Why would your purpose be any different? Comfort may feel safe, but it slowly suffocates your potential. It tells you to stay in the boat when Jesus is calling you to walk on water. It tells you to play it safe when the kingdom needs people willing to take risks in faith. It tells you to wait for certainty, but faith doesn't need certainty to move. It just needs conviction. Responsibility is one of the most powerful tools God has given you. It's not just about taking ownership of your actions, it's about reclaiming your power. When you take responsibility, you take back control. You stop allowing circumstances, excuses, and fear to dictate your life. You begin to walk in authority, knowing that no matter what comes your way, you can face it, deal with it, and rise above it. Excuses love to say, it's not my fault. This isn't my problem. I didn't ask for this. But when you shift from making excuses to taking responsibility, something profound happens. You take back your strength. You stop waiting for the world or the people around you to change. You stop blaming situations or others for the way things are. Instead, you start doing what you can with what you have, and that is powerful. When you own your life, your choices, your actions, your purpose, you step into your destiny. You stop giving away your power to the things that happen to you, to the failures of the past, to the mistakes others made. You take responsibility for your future, for your growth, for your impact. And when you do that, you begin to shape the life God always intended for you. This is not a burden, it's a blessing. When you say, I am responsible, you're acknowledging that you have the ability to change, to move, to transform. You're no longer a victim of your circumstances. You are an active participant in the story God is writing through your life. And that responsibility unlocks something inside of you. It opens doors that excuses would have kept closed. It lights a fire of determination that drives you to act, to overcome, and to achieve the extraordinary. You are not waiting for permission. You are not waiting for the stars to align. You are not waiting for someone to hand you your destiny. You are responsible for it. Take responsibility for the dreams in your heart, for the passions you've ignored, for the gifts you've buried. Stop blaming your past. Stop waiting for the perfect moment and step into the power of now. Your future starts when you say, I will own this. Responsibility gives you the authority to walk in purpose. It's time to step into it. No more excuses, no more delays. You hold the keys to your future. And when you take responsibility, you unlock the door. Too often we disqualify ourselves because we believe we need to be perfect before we can be used by God. We think that our flaws, our past mistakes, our weaknesses are barriers to His call on our lives. We say, I'm not ready. I'm not good enough. I'm not equipped. But here's the truth. God used the perfect. Perfection is not a prerequisite for divine purpose. If it were, no one would be qualified. But God doesn't call the perfect because there is no such thing as a perfect vessel. He calls the willing, those who will say, here I am, Lord, use me. Even with all their flaws, even with all their doubts, even with all their imperfections. Look at the people God chose throughout history. Moses, who stuttered. David, the youngest, overlooked and underestimated. Esther, who was afraid of losing her life. Peter, who denied Christ 3 times. None of them were perfect. None of them had all the answers. But they had one thing in common. They were willing. God doesn't need your perfection. He doesn't need your ability. He doesn't even need your strength. What He needs is your willingness. He needs you to say, yes, Lord, I'll go. Yes, Lord, I'll speak. Yes, Lord, I'll serve, even if I don't know how. He has promised to equip those He calls. And He doesn't just equip you in the way you think He will. He equips you with the power of His presence, the guidance of His Spirit, and the wisdom of His Word. When you step out in obedience, He makes you able, He makes you sufficient. His strength is made perfect in your weakness, and His grace is enough for every single step of the journey. You don't need to have it all figured out. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to say yes and trust that God will fill in the gaps. Your willingness is what qualifies you. Your obedience is what opens the door. When you step out in faith, He meets you there. So stop waiting for the perfect moments. Stop waiting for the perfect version of yourself to show up. God is calling you just as you are, with all your flaws, your insecurities, your uncertainties. And in His hands, you are enough. In the end, it all comes down to one simple truth. You are called to more than excuses. The reasons we hide behind, the fears we nurture, the doubts we let fester, they only hold us back from stepping into the fullness of the life God has for us. You were not created to sit on the sidelines of your own story, waiting for perfect conditions, for a moment that may never come. No, you were created to move, to act, to step out in faith, even when the road ahead is unclear. Stop telling yourself, I can't. Stop waiting for the right time. Stop hiding behind fear, doubt, and insecurity. You are not alone. You are equipped. You are chosen. You are capable, not because of who you are, but because of the one who called you. Every step of obedience opens doors, builds momentum, and transforms the world around you. Your potential is not locked up in the comfort of excuses. It's released in the courage of action, in the willingness to step out, in the refusal to let anything stand in the way of God's purpose for your life. So today, choose to break free from the chains of I'm not ready and it's too hard. Choose to stop making excuses and start living in obedience. When you do, you'll find that God meets you in every step, equips you for every challenge, and leads you to places beyond your imagination. The world is waiting for your yes. It's time to stop making excuses and start making history. Your destiny begins now.